Welcome. Many people go through life and never experience their true calling, but in today's episode, I'm excited I'll be talking with Dr. Mark Sanna, who's one of the few to find his absolute life's work. Dr. Sanna is the president and CEO of Breakthrough Coaching, an international healthcare practice management consulting firm that teaches an outcome-based, functionally oriented system of procedures that focuses on preparing healthcare professionals to become the providers driving healthcare reform. He's a fellow of the International College of Chiropractors, a Foundation for Chiropractic Progress board member, the Finance Committee chairman for the Chiropractic Summit, and is a member of the Leadership Committee of the Chiropractic Future Strategic Plan. He's also the author of the best-selling book, Cracking the Code, Marketing Chiropractic, How Chiropractors Align Spines and Minds. Welcome, Mark.
Hey, thanks, Sebastian. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. Well, let's get started by just sharing, the bullet-pointed version of your story and why you do what you do.
Well, Sebastian, I'm one of the fortunate people in life who didn't have to discover chiropractic. So my dad is a chiropractor as well. In fact, this is his 69th year as a chiropractor, and he's retired from practice, but he still gives a great adjustment. And so I had the great fortune of growing up inside the profession. And there are some pluses and some challenges that came with that because back when I grew up, chiropractic wasn't as accepted as it is today. And I can remember, hearing my dad called a quack on the playground and getting into some scuffles there, defending my dad because I knew he wasn't a quack. And to be able to see now where chiropractic has come and the conversations that chiropractic is included in, it's really been an amazing journey. And it's because a lot of those great pioneers who came before us, literally, these guys got thrown in jail for doing what we take absolutely for granted, that we can open the door of our office, walk in and adjust people. And they did that and they got thrown in jail. And guess what? They would end up adjusting the jailers, the other prisoners, and then they'd get let out and they'd arrest them again and throw them back in. And, one of the most inspirational things you can do as a chiropractor, a good buddy of mine named Dr. Michael Flynn took me to the bell tower outside of Life University. And it's absolutely amazing. You walk inside, it's towering, must be 30 plus feet tall. And inside are inscribed all the names of the chiropractors who were arrested. And Dr. Flynn points to the wall up at his dad, and he practiced in Louisiana. And his dad's name inscribed right up there, jailed for practicing medicine without a license. So I kind of always knew from childhood that I wanted to be a chiropractor. When you say I kind of found my life's calling, I think I found it like about age 5 when I was adjusting the dog and the cat and whoever. But yeah, I'm so proud of the chiropractic profession and how far we've come. And still got some miles to take together.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely come a long way. I had no idea about the jailing or the badge of honor, right, of having your name inscribed there.
Yeah,
Are you on that wall?
very inspiring. Yep, I'm not on that wall.
Good. It was a good generation to come up in then.
Yes, for sure. Absolutely. Got tremendous respect for the folks who've gone before us.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about what you do differently, or what makes you unique compared to maybe others that are doing the same thing in the same space for chiropractors.
Yeah, so I'm a practice management consultant for chiropractors, right? And there's a few handfuls of them out there. And I actually hired this company, Breakthrough Coaching, to manage my chiropractic practice. And they managed the practice for 3 years and they were doing a really good job. And the guy who owned the company said, Mark, I think you'd be a good coach. Would you like to do that? I'm like, oh my God, it's what I want to do my whole life. And so 2 years after that, Sebastian, literally, I'm practicing full time. When I say full time, I mean 9 to noon and 2 till 7, Monday through Friday, and coaching at that point in time myself 75 chiropractic practices in between adjusting patients and running the practice and all of that other kind of stuff. And so I took the guy who owned the company out to lunch, Brian, and I said, "Hey, listen, man. By the way, Sebastian, I'm coaching all the people. He's making all the money, right?
Right.
Of course." And so I said, "Brian, things have got to change. I really want to buy your company." And he said, "Mark, that's great. I want you to buy my company." And so that was 1998.
Hmm.
I purchased the company that I had worked for, and so I'm kind of like the razor guy, right? I like the company so much I bought the company, right? What was unique about breakthrough coaching that I really liked is that the fellow who owned the company was a businessman and his wife was the chiropractor. But he had a real knowledge for how to run the business. And while they teach us how to be great chiropractors in chiropractic school, back then and today, kind of pretty much, they don't teach us too much about the business of chiropractic. And what I learned, not only through breakthrough coaching, but getting to work with successful practices, that the best practices are run on systems. And and you could probably say the best businesses are system driven. They have standard operating procedures. When a new patient calls, you're not making it up on the fly. You know what you're going to say. We know how to deliver a report of findings. We know how to lay out a case for a patient and manage that patient and have them retained in the practice and refer to the practice. So those are all systems. And when you have really good systems in place, you can then begin to scale the practice. And scaling the practice means I can add other team members, right? I can have somebody maybe help me with rehab exercises or therapies, or I can maybe add a chiropractic associate to my practice. So anything that you do in your practice that magnifies the revenue stream that you can make from your two hands adjusting patients, that's actually scaling the practice. And that requires the art of delegation. And so, as a chiropractor, you want to be a specialist. And when I say specialist, in the beginning, when you first start, you got to do everything. You got to know how to answer the phones. You got to know how to schedule patients. You got to know how to collect the money, the whole deal. But as you grow in your role, you want to be an amazing chiropractor, giving amazing chiropractic adjustments, uh, making sure that you're producing the very best outcomes that are possible. And the way that you do that is honing your craft and honing your skills. And so when you can get to that level of mastery of chiropractic, then you bring in an associate, you now have the ability to impact more lives, see more people, uh, be able to generate a practice that has uh, financial abundance. And I like to tell doctors, because sometimes they get a little discouraged, that we're in an abundant universe. The universe is filled with abundance. Go outside, look at the stars at night. This is an abundant universe. It's not a universe of scarcity and lack. And so the only thing separating you from abundance is your mindset. So have a mindset that, hey, I am worthy of having abundance, and surround yourself with the people who support that vision, and learn how to build a team. Because, as you know, Sebastian, this takes a team to put on this podcast. It's not one person alone who can do what we can do all together. And so having great team and great people around you is absolutely essential.
Yeah, 100%. And, I know you ran around like a chicken with your head cut off doing all the things, but, there is only so much time that we have in a day. So, even if you spent every minute adjusting a person, obviously that's not going to happen. But even if you did, that's a finite amount. So there's no way you can serve and help more people without bringing others along with that on that journey with you.
Very much so. And so you asked me what kind of makes breakthrough coaching different is we're very systems oriented. So we really teach you how to, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Take systems that are tried, tested, and true, put them in place in your practice, allow you to scale your practice, and then most importantly, keep an eye on the profitability of the practice, because it's not how many services you deliver. It's not even how much money you collect. It's how much you keep after the bills are paid. And running a profitable practice is one of the things that I think we're the most expert at in chiropractic consulting. We literally coach some of the largest practices in the country, but we've started many of them from their first day in practice. And so that's something that comes with time and experience. And, this is coming on my 25th year of coaching chiropractic practices. And I love it more than ever at this time. It's super exciting for me.
That's so awesome. And yeah, I mean, I think about the practices that worked with you from day one versus say day, 3060, where, those systems and things that they haven't figured out, they don't even know what they don't know. You're able to help them just get started right from the get go.
Absolutely true. And I have to say now, with technology uh, that we have at our fingertips, honestly, AI is impacting business tremendously. And so, if you haven't played with Chat GPT, you're not trying hard enough. And so, if you want to document your procedures at the office, put in a prompt, right? I'm a chiropractor. I want to create a standard operating procedure for front desk answering the telephone, and hit click, and boom, out comes this amazing draft before you can even scroll all the way down.
Yeah.
So there are tremendous tools that can support you in documenting your systems, making sure that we know that if I bring in an associate, that associate's going to deliver a very similar adjustment that I would deliver. And same thing, if I have two front desk people, that they're going to be answering the phone in a very similar way. And it's not because we want to be automatons or it's we're there to produce an extraordinary experience for the patient. And if you're focused on procedures, you cannot focus on the human being in front of you. You can't focus on that person. And it's absolutely essential that we are connecting with our patients. One of the great writers, Dr. Wayne Dyer, said that we're not human beings that have an occasional spiritual experience on the weekends. We go to church or temple or wherever we worship, but we are spiritual beings that have a human experience. And so being able to connect spiritual being to spiritual being is a tremendous gift that we have as chiropractors, laying hands on people that people can't get anywhere else. It's a tremendous gift that we have.
It really, really is. So you shared a lot about what you love about coaching. Is there anything else that you find really exciting about working with other chiropractors?
I do. Chiropractors are, I think, the greatest people on earth. And I've been fortunate to really know some wonderful chiropractors. So there is an amazing organization. A lot of chiropractors have never heard of this thing called the Chiropractic Knights of the Round Table. And the Chiropractic Knights of the Round Table, a group of 30 docs on the East Coast. There's a West Coast. There's a Highland group, and there's an international group up in Canada. And we meet 3 times a year, and we share at a really high, uh, intimate level of sharing. We share not only about practice, but personal life. We share about investments. We share about ideas that we have. And one of the things that for me is really key, and I recommend this to every chiropractor. It's so easy, Sebastian, to become an island. We work hard. We go in the morning in the practice and quick lunch, and then you're back, and then you go home, and then you got to be a dad or whatever other roles that you play. And you don't necessarily have the time to focus on you. And so having a peer group that you can touch bases with, and uh, whether it's a lunch once a week, and it doesn't have to be another chiropractor. It's fine if it's somebody in another business, right? But somebody of like mind who has similar values that you have, that you can meet with and bounce things off, because otherwise we can become a believer that what we see is reality, and it's really not. It's just our perception of reality. And so bringing another human being in there can shift our perspective, and you can see blind spots that you didn't know were there, or opportunities that were there and you were kind of overlooking them, or maybe a challenge that's going to come up and bite you in the butt and you didn't see it coming. And so my advice is get to be with other folks, be with other chiropractors, be with folks who are going to push you, stretch you a little bit, so that you're constantly growing and learning and curious. Um, I think that's one of the greatest things about chiropractic. You know, it's a brotherhood, it's a sisterhood. It's very, very unique. When we get together as chiropractors, it's amazing how much we have in common with each other.
Yeah, no, I can relate to that. I think all of us can have that tendency to become, an island into ourselves. And so, I too am part of my own type of coaching program, not with chiropractors, but and just a community of others who, like you said, similar values, but going through the same things, or have been there and done that, and just
Oh
they can
yeah,
identify, and there's real power in being in a community like that.
absolutely.
So, what other actionable insights or tips could you share with our chiropractic community who, like I said before, may not even know what they don't know about, say, working with a coach?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they know, and I mentioned before about the importance of having a team, but creating a team now uh, is maybe different than creating a team pre-pandemic. We're in a whole different reality now, and what's more meaningful now maybe wasn't as meaningful a few years ago. And so I think that the core of forming a great team is making sure you know your core values. And to me, people say, how do I hire great people? Well, I always say, hire from core values. Don't hire for skill set. You know, you can train how to input data. You can train how to answer a phone. You can train even how to give an adjustment, but you can't train work ethic and core values and showing up and giving 100%. And, my core values personally are my faith, my family, my physical fitness, because I know that if I don't have my fitness, I don't have anything other than that. My financial freedom. And the last one of five is fun. And so I know that if something doesn't check those five boxes, I don't do it. Out. And so I know that when I build my team, I'm going to hire people who have similar core values, who are in alignment with my core values. And that's going to help me retain them. It's going to help me know when they're off purpose, because it's like their compass is off. They'll self select off the team if they don't fit with core values. And I'm going to retain them because people want to be around that kind of energy. And so I think it's really essential that if you want to have a great performing team, sit down and give you a little practical exercise, is just think of three or four individuals in your life who you really admire and you really respect. It could be a parent, a coach, a mentor, a spouse, a friend, a buddy, coworker, and write down three or four characteristics about that person that you really admire, right? So, with my dad, I know it's his sense of humor, it's his work ethic, right? It's his faith. It's really important things for my dad. And so you'll come up with a list of some qualities, traits that you really admire, and pick four or five of that list that really resonate with you. It could be aspirational. It means you don't really have them yet, but you aspire to have them. Or they could be already hard and fast values. Like, if you don't have this, you don't pass go. And that's a beautiful exercise to do yourself. If you have a team, it's really great to do with your team members, and to regularly revisit that. We want to make sure that we're creating a really special environment. It's not easy to find great people to hire today. And when you do, you want to make sure that you keep them and you treat them right and you pay them well. I'm a big believer in profit sharing. I set aside 20% of the profit of breakthrough coaching, and I share that with my employees based upon longevity. And I recommend that docs do that as well. so that as we do better as a team, everybody else can do better individually. So you really got to treat the people well who treat you well. It's super important.
Yeah, it's so much good stuff there. It just reminds me of the saying, a rising tide lifts all boats.
Not one of us that's as smart as all of us when we're together.
There you go. There you go. So tell me a little bit about how you see things progressing in the near future for the chiropractic community.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's an amazing time in chiropractic. We've got some incredible things. You mentioned in my introduction a group called the Chiropractic Future. And maybe a bunch of folks haven't heard about Chiropractic Future. If you haven't, look at Chiropractic Future in Google. Our website will come up, and you'll see that this is an amazing organization that has created a 5-year strategic plan for the profession. So, the profession hasn't had a strategic plan like this before, and it has different work groups, different pillars, and one of the main ones is research. And so what's happening in chiropractic research right now, quite frankly, is amazing. There's a wonderful Dr. Heidi Havoc out of New Zealand, and she's doing amazing research of chiropractic's effects on the brain and how giving a chiropractic adjustment actually lights up the really important areas of the brain, the frontal cortex, that's your executive function, temporal cortex, that's how you hear and communicate with the world, and chiropractic adjustments, how that impacts that quality of life that we really need chiropractic research on, is not just back pain and neck pain and headaches. We all know that we could do that, but how it impacts quality of life and sleep and even longevity. So research is amazing. Technology, I mentioned before, is extraordinary. We're putting together a data lake. So if you know what a data lake is, imagine a big, huge lake full of water, except for that water is millions and tens of millions of bits of data. And that data are chiropractic claims. So we have all of the major software companies in chiropractic contributing HIPAA scrub data into this lake. So we can actually now, because the University of Oklahoma grad students, 4 of them, have built an AI interface, we know when chiropractic reimbursement is wonky in your area. We know when it's actually illegal and you're being mistreated in your area. And we've created dashboards for the executive directors of every chiropractic association can actually see what's happening in a real time in reimbursement. And we had an amazing situation in Kentucky happen this past year where one of the major insurers was monkeying around with codes, and they had to pay back $1 million to the chiropractors in Kentucky because of this data lake. So that's really, really exciting. We have funded a fellowship. So for the first time at Dartmouth University, there's a chiropractic research fellow who's actually doing chiropractic research at Dartmouth Ivy League school. And that was fully funded through the Chiropractic Future. An interesting thing about how that was funded is it's the very first time, and it costs a lot of money, by the way, $75,000 a year to fund a fellowship. That money came from outside of the chiropractic profession. It was from a chiropractic patient who had a miracle experience with chiropractic, and her family donated part of their fortune to set up the endowment for this fellowship. This is just extraordinary. And I can go on and on. I mean, there are legislative and governmental changes that are out there that are impacting reimbursement parity, cultural authority in chiropractic. And so these are really amazing times to have an organization that's working together, made up of thousands of chiropractic volunteers who are getting things done and moving the needle in chiropractic in a way that it hasn't for a little bit of time now. And it's great to see it coming on so strong that other professionals are kind of watching and taking a look at what the chiropractors are doing.
That's really amazing. I had no idea, and I'm a bit of a data geek myself, so it's really interesting to me to hear like you guys have a real pulse on what's going on out there.
Oh my goodness. Real time. Exactly.
Amazing. Well, before we sign off, do you have any final advice that you'd like to share with the chiropractic community, or anything we might have missed? And also, please tell our listeners the best way to connect with you.
Well, absolutely. Yeah. You know what? I think one of the important things, and it's what turned me on to breakthrough coaching in the beginning, is understand that yes, we are healers, but we're in the business of healing. That's my dad's quote. He said, Mark, you know what? You're in the business of healing, and without the business, you don't get to do any healing. And so I want chiropractors to be in a place of abundance. I want them to not have the stress of focusing on paying the bills and is insurance going to pay or not pay. What I want them to focus on is tapping into the abundance of the universe and connecting with their patients and making actual lifelong relationships that last and impact their lives. You're doing amazing work as chiropractors. Listen, a life without chiropractic is kind of a crappy ending. You kind of start with taking over the counter drugs for aches and pains, and then eventually they put you on prescription meds, and your organs start to fail. And bit by bit, you start having diseases and you die a crappy death. And that's how most of America dies, from chronic diseases that are completely preventable. And by having chiropractic and staying flexible and mobile and helping our patients have an alignment between their brain and their nervous system and their bodies is an absolutely essential component to good health. So it is an absolute honor to what we do every day in giving chiropractic adjustments. And so it should be treated as something special, and it should be treated as something sacred. And, remember, one of my core values is fun. So have a little fun in there too. Remember, it's serious work, but you got to have some fun as well. That's why I wrote this book called Cracking the Code. Get it? Cracking the Code. And it teaches chiropractors how to use stuff like AI to market their practice. You can get it on Amazon. There's my quick commercial. But I'd love for you to have it because it's really a great, great, great tool. If you'd like to find out a little bit more about breakthrough coaching or contact me, my website is mybreakthrough.com. So MYBREAKTHROUGH, mybreakthrough.com. And there's lots of resources for you there. And you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm all around, and would love to hear from you. If you listen to this podcast, give us a shout and make sure you share it with your friends. This is something that's super special. It's chiropractic insights, and we want to get the word out. We want more people listening.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today, Mark. We'll be sure to make link to your coaching program in the show notes, as well as your book, in case anyone wants to take a closer look at those, or as well as your upcoming seminar that I know you have going on this fall.
I do. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other things we covered today, you shared so much. There's so many good resources that you mentioned. So people can go to growyourchiropractic.com and go to the podcast section to check the show notes and those references and links. And again, I just thank you so much for coming on with me today, Mark.
Thank you. This is great fun. Really appreciate you. Thanks,
All
Sebastian.
right, same here.